going to be a bumpy walk.
Chrissie is hilarious.
Chrissie, have you ever heard of the comedian Basha K. Ali?
No, that sounds like something you yell at before you blow up a plane.
30 seconds remaining.
But you know what good thing to say? I dabbled in stand-up or something. I haven't been disrespectful to you at all.
I was very confused by the title, Everything Everywhere All at Once, because that's also what we call it when Ash takes off his shirt.
I shouldn't be up here. I should be in school on the other side of the ocean.
Welcome to another episode of the Chrissie Mayr podcast. We are on iTunes, YouTube, Spotify, SoundCloud, wherever fine podcasts are sold. Yes, I'm not liking this brunette. I have been texting with my stylist lady. We might have to go. I might have to go back and get this handled here. Quick word from our sponsor, Nickel City Cigars, my all-time favorite independent based veteran-owned cigar company. Wonderful guys. They operate out of Buffalo, New York. I did a show there a couple months ago. They're just great. They have very impressive beards, but even more impressive cigars. And these are like handcrafted. Kind of, if you're a cigar snob, you will love this because they're all kind of like bougie specialty brands that you can't get anywhere else. They sell packages. They have really great quality stuff. Me and Frank are getting more into cigars, and I bought a ton of stuff from them, and I really liked it. And if you go to nickelcitycigars.com and use promo code CMP, you get 15% off your entire order. And Tommy, the owner, is just, he's a great guy. This is a wonderful company. They really know their stuff. And I'm actually going to do an episode with him eventually. And he can explain cigar stuff to me because I am a dumb woman and I don't really know these things. But what I do know is stand-up. And I got a bunch of stand-up shows coming up. So excited to be getting back on the road next month. Gosh, it's like next September is literally next Thursday. Are you prepared for it? I'm not prepared for September. I don't have my back to school feeling yet. But I'll be headlining in Austin Thursday, September 8th at the Cap City Comedy Club in Austin. Then I'm heading to Philly to headline the Helium Comedy Club on Wednesday, September 14th. Then I'm doing 2 shows in Springfield, New Jersey at Scotty's Comedy Cove with Kevin Dombrowski. He is a super funny guy. I'm excited to do shows with him. But these are good shows for Jersey people to come to. Then I'm headlining in Bridgeport, Connecticut, Thursday, September 22nd at the Stress Factory in Bridgeport. Then I'm off to New Orleans to do 4 shows at the Comedy House, Friday, September 30th and Saturday, October 1st. Then we got the Content House at the end of October. And to kick that off, we'll be doing a Comedians of the Compound at the Orlando Improv on Thursday, October 27th. This show is going to be bonkers. Myself, Gino Bisconti, Anthony Cumia, Alex Stein, 99, and Lila Hart will all be at this show. You can get tickets. Tickets are available now. Go to my website, ChrissieMayr.com. That's MAYR, but you guys already know that. You know how to spell my name. Come on. Unless you're new here, which if you are, welcome. But yes, come to these shows. It's going to be fun. And a quick shout out to my t-shirt provider, flagranttriggers.com. Go to flagranttriggers.com. I have my own little section on this website. Man, I love these guys. Also, they have this Magic Groomdom shirt, which I just find delightful. But if you click on the Chrissie Mayr on the website, it'll bring you to the Chrissie Mayr section. You can get the classic Rootin' for Putin shirt, Johnny Dabbler, Simpcast, Mayor, Make America Great Again, and the Smayer shirt. All available on flagranttriggers.com. $27 includes shipping. These shirts are super soft, super fun. You could sleep in them. You could have sex in them. You could do just about anything in these shirts. They're really tested for all sorts of activities. So get yours today. That's right. I'm so excited to have this gal on the podcast today. This has been a long time coming. It's been a lot of like back and forth scheduling, that's life. I'm not a hero just because I have to write a few emails. Come on now. This is just called being an adult. I'm so excited to have her here. She has a fire YouTube channel. She's got a retarded amount of followers, subscribers on YouTube. 232,000 subscribers on YouTube. She is a Second Amendment enthusiast, a libertarian. She talks about news, politics, all the things. Plus, I love her look. Welcome to the show, Liberty Doll, or the Liberty Doll. Hi.
Hello.
It's so good to see you.
You too. You too.
Do we like this view or do we like a little up close?
I like that because then you can't see. Well, I mean, now that it's like zoomed in on the baby cage, but
I thought it looks like for a second that you are in a cage. Like you have a little podcasting cage that you put yourself in.
I'm a subject of the U.S. government. I am in a cage.
That cage is actually a metaphor for all of our lives right now. But we'll zoom in. Wouldn't that be great? You're like, mommy's busy. Like whenever you have that cage around you, that means like not to bother you.
Well, I mean, the baby is the one that goes in that cage.
Oh, how old's your baby?
She's going to be 9 months, like next week.
Wow. So just as much time outside as inside.
Yes.
Wow. That's so exciting. There was like, I forget who I was out with, but their kid was like, oh yeah, it was last week at the pool. And this family friend of mine has like a 3-year-old and he kept trying to like pull on her bathing suit and like, he's 3, he's like being goofy. And I just kept making the joke like, oh, he's trying to visit his old apartment. And like, nobody was really laughing. I was like, he just wants to, check out the old digs, the old stomping grounds.
It's funny you say that because before I went into labor, like the midwives actually referred to the womb, whatever. They're like, oh, it's like an apartment. And like the more babies you have, then like the shabbier the apartment gets. And I was like,
really?
Oh, yeah.
Was that a comment about your vagina? Like your vaginal or like just the look? Like, what did they mean by that?
It was supposed to be a story to like get people to not stress out and like take care of the baby's home and make sure you're drinking enough water. But I just like kept getting this vision of this apartment or like dingy hotel room with like cigarette burns in the bedspread.
Yeah, the baby's in there smoking, like putting out its cigarettes like on the fucking uterine wall or something. And then it's like it's got chipping paint and like they're worried about asbestos and they're like, God, this crown molding is like it's classic, but it's gotta go. Wow. Oh my goodness. Okay, so how did you get we like to do, because it's your first time, a little bit into your origin story. How did you come to be a YouTuber? Were you in like the regular 9-to-5 world before this?
Oh, I was in the 9-to-5 world until a week before I went into labor.
Wow. Okay, so really recently. Yeah, me too. I've just been out of the working world like 8.5 months, I guess.
Yeah. So it started back in the ye old good times of like 2013 or so, I think. I had found libertarianism around the election of 2012. I got into Ron Paul in 2010 and found libertarianism. And something happens when you first find the ideas of liberty and you're like, oh my God, this is awesome. I have to tell everyone about it. And you assume that everyone else also wants to hear it, which is not the case.
You're like, if you heard this, you would of course be on board.
My family really didn't want to hear it, and neither did my friends. So I was like, you know what? I'm going to start a Facebook page because that's before Facebook made you pay to actually get on people's news feeds.
Yeah, now they just want your money. Facebook is the only is suitable for like complaining, and maybe just like selling things.
Yeah, basically.
Yeah.
So I started a Facebook page, and I also started a blog. Eventually, over time, I actually got some really decent views. There was this chick at the time that called herself the Femitheist, and she had this whole thing about wanting to reduce the male population by 90% and having forced
This
castration.
was she related to Klaus Schwab in any way? This sounds like
Maybe.
New World Ordery.
So I wrote an article about her and put in snippets of an interview that she did. And that that article got translated into like 7 different languages or something. It was insane.
Where did you initially post it?
It was on my old website, which was
Oh,
this
wow.
really janky WordPress website because I don't know how to code. It was really
Everybody
bad.
had it. What did I have? I had not WordPress, but some kind of a blog. It was like like I would be embarrassed to say it. Like it was like a blog site, basically. I forget the name.
And after that, I started getting emails from people saying, "Oh, I really like your work, but I don't want to read it. So you should do videos." So I started a YouTube channel. It was really bad and cringy at first, and I posted maybe once every 3 or 6 months, and I was like, "Why aren't I getting followers?" And then at one point, folks that they weren't with the Gary Johnson campaign, but they were affiliated with him in some way, asked me to guest on a podcast, like be a co-host. And it somehow ended up where even though it wasn't my podcast, I was the only one that was showing up on time and was prepared every week. And I was like, damn, you know what? If I could do this, I could actually upload regular videos to YouTube. And
okay.
What started it, and I started out either sitting on a table, crouched under a table lamp, recording on my laptop, or I had this whole setup where I would sit on the floor in the living room because that was the only blank wall in the house. And I would put on these construction lights that if you had them on for more than like 10 minutes, they would start smoking and sparking a little and would smell really bad.
Ooh, how fun. It's like you could have used them at like for a nightlife, like open up your own club.
Right. And that's how the Liberty Doll channel was born.
Oh my God. Somebody in the chat. Yes, it was Tumblr. Thank you, Flop Tina. I had Tumblr.
That is embarrassing.
Yeah. Wow. Oh, what's more embarrassing than that? I think my first Twitter handle was Hysterigal, and I didn't want to give it up. Like I held on to it for a really long time because I'm like, Hysterigal, it's perfect. I'm a hysterical gal. And then everyone's like, no one can find you. Nobody cares about puns. Just make it your fucking name. I don't know. I think that's the way to go for comedy, at least. Like, although you go by a fun name, so, and it works for you. So I wish I could go back and tell that person.
I mean, it works for me, but people get confused because my website and email is the Liberty Doll, because apparently some Chinese company somewhere has just Liberty Doll, and they keep sending me emails. They've been sending me emails for like 10 years asking me to buy this domain for $4,000. And I'm like, no, thank you.
Wow. Asking you to buy it.
Yeah.
Wow. They're like, we literally sell Liberty Dolls. They are sex dolls that have American flag bikinis on them. That's what some people do. They'll buy domains and then they'll just try to grift off that, I guess. Whatever works for you guys. Whatever works for you, China. So that's so interesting that it was Ron Paul that really kind of drew you in to being a libertarian. What was it specifically that really spoke to you, that of his beliefs, that you were like, oh my God, I'm all in?
That is an excellent question. It is so long ago, and babies do this thing where they suck out your brain cells that I'm really going to have to think about it.
That's been happening to me too, and I don't even have the excuse of a baby. I think what people, it's especially in 2022, I hope there's been a resurgence of people interested in libertarianism, because it's like we are watching our liberties and our rights being stripped from us, like in real time. It's like you don't have to open up a history book. It's like if you were just alive the last 2 years, I don't know what more you need to get on board.
I think the biggest thing, it sounds cliche, I guess, but a lot of what he said just made sense, because I mean, at that time, I am really embarrassed to say that I was an Obama voting feminist.
Girl, me too. Hello. Don't ever feel embarrassed for that. I was a SJW feminist, women's studies minor when I graduated college.
Oh my God, me too. I was one credit
moron.
short of the minor.
Oh my God. Yeah, I was all about it. I was going to protests. Like I had very short blonde hair and braces, which helped because men were not interested in me, so that it was easier for me to not be interested in them.
I
Yeah.
had the shaved head, like, flopped over mohawk that was all these different colors, but
Wow.
it was before the
It was cool.
SJW people co-opted, because I was
So
also a punk, and I had the
you
jacket with
pioneered
the
it.
spikes and the studs and a red patch right here that said, "This is what a feminist looks like."
Oh, no. I had before the Karens really made it popular, I had, like, the classic Karen haircut, like, think Midwestern hairstylist, like, a bang, and then, like, really short up the back, and then, like, longer up here and like, dyed blonde, so I would scrunch it up, and I'd be like, "I have fun hair," and it was, I was delusional. I was kidding myself for many years.
But I
And then
still re
I had adult braces and I would be shocked. I'd be like, "Why are all these like?" I think I had a legit minor attracted person like into me. Like I looking back, like I met a guy on the train when I was commuting back and forth from college into my internship in New York City at NBC, and I had braces on. And he was like, "How old are you?" And like now looking back, I'm like, "Oh,
That's so awkward.
I was definitely chumming the waters for sharks that I did not want to come by." But now I'm older and know better. Yeah.
But I still remember there was something, it wasn't particularly something that he said, Ron Paul, but just the overarching idea where it was like, I was like a feminist and voted for Obama. And just as I learned more about what was actually happening in our government and in our country, it was this sort of realization of, feminism is supposed to be, equal rights, blah, blah, blah. But really, it comes down to women wanting special treatment, or whatever popular minority group at the time wanting special treatment. And his thing was, like, with libertarianism, it's like, well, if the individual is the smallest minority and everyone has the same rights, we don't need things like feminism or whatever other special interest groups to give this special group special treatment when everybody has the same rights across the board.
Everyone is
Which,
equally special and unspecial.
right,
Yeah.
exactly. And that sounds just so basic to me now, all these years later. But back then, it was like a total mind blowing mind fuck of like, why didn't I think of that before?
And it's also like, why didn't anyone teach me this in any of the schooling that I had for years? Like, why wasn't it even given as an option? Like, why was this something I had to learn and discover on my own through like years of trial and error, like my own human foibles? Like, why are my parents paying so much money and this wasn't even presented as a possibility?
Yeah. So I think it was that, and just, individual liberties, and basically, doing whatever you want that's within your rights, as long as you're not hurting other people. Because, as I said, I was a punk back then. I had the jacket with the studs and the spikes and everything. So it was like, yeah, F the system. And it's like, oh, here's this ideology that literally allows me to be left alone so long as I'm not committing some violence or like heinous crime.
Right. So when you were a feminist, were you fully like anti-man? Because it's like you're married now with a baby. Do you think your former self would be aghast to see where you've landed?
Well, I mean, I didn't see myself getting married, but that was more the product of, dysfunctional family rather than feminism. Like, I was never anti-man. I just was like, oh, glass ceiling, wage gap, pink razors. I don't know. It's
Yeah, our razors are more expensive, but it's like you could buy the male razors, you
yeah,
know?
they're exactly the same.
Yeah. I like to buy the ones with like the purple stuff around it, like it's surrounded in goo.
That's actually what's in my shower right now.
Ooh, and they're fun. I love when they're and then I know when the purple goo wears off, it's like it's probably time to replace the razor. And my favorite thing to do is like fire the razor off the stick, like boo boo, and I try to shoot it like into the trash. That's fun for me. Or I'll shoot it like into the shower.
Mhm.
Yep, yep. It's the little things.
It's good to
I
have
don't know.
goals.
And now I don't know. Right. I remember when I learned about like, oh, everything's so much more expensive for women. It's like this is based off of like decades of studies. Like these companies are just trying to make money. It's like you can either like acknowledge reality and like, okay, if this bothers you, you can always find stuff for cheaper.
Mhm.
Or not, and just be like, all right, well, this is the price you have to pay if you want to be attractive,
It's
because
the
like
price we pay for civilized society.
yeah. It's like no one's forcing you to buy any of this stuff. It's like you could look like my Aunt Liz in Maryland who doesn't wear any makeup, but it's like also she's not getting catcalled. So
Well, I mean, and the thing is like, okay, are we going to complain that razors are an extra 50 cents or whatever they are? Like, why do you care? Like, you don't even shave your armpits.
yeah. I mean, that's one way to shave on razors is just stop shaving anything. Special like I'm so mad. It's my brother's wedding. He said I have to shave my armpits if I want to be in the bridal party. That's so interesting. I feel like similarly, I was kind of anti-marriage because of the relationship my parents had, and I was just like, "Oh, you're just signing up for a lifetime of resenting each other, and they don't have each other's backs, and they're just constantly talking shit about one another as soon as one leaves the room. So why would I want to do that?"
Exactly.
Yeah. So you're making videos. Did you notice when you came out and started making videos, like you mentioned before, you're like, I'm trying to tell people, my friends weren't interested. Did you feel like the more outspoken you became about libertarianism, did you feel like you were losing friends? Did you feel like people were
Oh, yeah. Oh,
distancing
definitely.
themselves?
I had, and my best friend at the time said that I was only pretending to believe in this stuff and I was changing my views for a man because, oh no, my now husband was like, so have you heard about our Lord and Savior, Ron Paul?
You're like, big deal. We just have one Ron Paul shrine in the house.
um, and so that happened. And I had an aunt that, this is so stupid. We were really close at the time. And I don't even remember what I posted on my Facebook page. It wasn't my post that she had a problem with. There was someone in the comments that said something about the military, like military getting welfare, or that the military is like the strong arm of the government overseas, something like that. I don't even know what it was, but someone in my comments apparently said something that my aunt thought was anti-military, and she just unfriended me and blocked me, and I didn't find out for 6 months what the problem was.
Wait, this isn't even something you said. It was someone else's comment.
But when I didn't see the comment and didn't respond to the comment, she took it as a direct attack against the family, because most of my family on that side is are veterans. And when I didn't respond to this comment, she thought that I was dishonoring and disrespecting the family because I didn't stand up to this rando person in this rando comment I never saw for
Oh,
bad mouthing the
wow.
military.
Oh, wow. Okay, so she really read into that.
And what's ironic is I was doing weekly live streams on Fridays. Baby is not happy with that, so we're tabling them for a
Aw.
while. But she started watching them and was like, "Oh my God, your views have matured so much." And it's like, my views have basically been the same. If not, they've actually probably gotten more radical since like 2010, 2012. But I don't know.
And did you feel like you would just try to explain yourself? Like I know how the feeling, because you're like, it sucks to feel misunderstood. Like I have friends and comics that I kind of occasionally work with and do podcasts with, and they don't really understand because they're not politically minded. They're not like so much news focused. They are really more just like comedy focused, and they talk about their own lives. So it's like they think I've gone so radical right. They call me like an uber right winger, and I'm like, it's not really that much. Like I'm like, my sense of humor is the same. It's really just like I'm more aware of what's going on. And I
There's
feel
so
like I'm
much
just kind of
material to draw
woken
from
up.
these days.
Yeah. Yeah, so it does bother me when it's like I get called like, "Oh, you're just a right winger." And it's like, "Okay, well, it's a little bit there's a little bit more to it than that." And like, "Well, you vote for Trump, so you're a crazy right winger." And I'm like, "Wow," but it's like, is that really fair to say when we only have two choices and one of them's Trump? It's like, I don't know. I don't know. But then part of being adult is just being okay with not everyone liking you. And that's
Yeah.
what I'm learning.
And I found like the losing friends and family battle or people being like, oh my God, you're uber right wing has changed a lot since moving from a blue state to a red state. In a red state, I fit in. It's great. I love
Where did
it.
you move from and where are you now?
Massachusetts
Okay.
to South Carolina.
Wow.
Yeah.
Okay, yeah, I was just in Boston, like, 2 weekends ago for this fan expo, and I just was like, "Oh, I don't know."
Oh God,
Boston
yeah.
didn't
Boston's
feel it
awful.
and I'm in New York City every week, so it's like I'm not one to judge, but I'm just like, "Oh, yeah, this just doesn't feel." And then when I go, doing comedy, like, in Florida or Texas or, like, basically anywhere else, it feels like people are, like, calmer and happier, and when I'm in, like, blue cities, it just doesn't feel very good. I
It's
can't put my finger
oppressive.
on it. Yeah, it is. And it's depressing. So when did you move from, Massachusetts to South Carolina?
The height of the COVID madness of 2020.
Oh, when everyone was moving.
Yeah. Yeah. And we had wanted to move south for years, literally since 2015. Maybe we even honeymooned down here and like checked out real estate.
Aw.
But a bunch of things happened to keep us in Massachusetts. And then 2020 hit and the COVID madness. I can't. I white girl literally can't even. It was that bad. we we decided we're like, all right, we're gonna do it. We are gonna move. The real estate market was so insane. We couldn't even find a rental house long distance. So what we had to do is finally find a place that we could check out. We drove down the end of July. We saw 6 houses in a matter of 24 hours and drove straight
Whoa.
back because we had to get back to Massachusetts before August 1st, because August 1st was when the government decided that you needed official permission slips from the state government to leave the state or come back into the state. And
Whoa.
whenever you did not do that special paperwork and didn't get your special permission from the government, it was, I think, a $500 fine per day per person. It was
Yikes. Where
ridiculous.
would the checkpoint even be for this paperwork?
I'm not sure, but at the time they did have National Guardsmen on the border
Oh,
between
wow.
Massachusetts and Rhode Island, and like Rhode Island and New York. It was a Rhode Island thing that was it Gina Raimondo, I think, was the governor. She was doing that, and I actually did a video on that at the time, and people were like, "No way, that can't be true." And meanwhile, I had a friend that was living near the border on the Rhode Island side, and he was like, "Yeah, I can see the military folks from my apartment window."
Scary.
So maybe that. I mean, I know that on Cape Cod, they had cops that were going around to the hotels and the little cottages and stuff and keeping track of the out of state plates and going door to door at the hotels and things like that and
Whoa.
knocking and being like, "Are you from New York? Are you from Connecticut?" It was wild. It was
Oof.
wild. They had my husband and I played disc golf. Yes, I know you can make fun of me for
Oh,
it.
you mean Frisbee golf?
Yes.
That's a thing because I went to college in Connecticut and everyone was obsessed with Frisbee golf. And I was like, is this
Yeah.
a college thing or just like an
Oh,
East
no, it's a
Coast
thing,
thing, New
like, the
England thing?
highest paid player in the world makes, like, $1,000,000 a year now, it's wild, but,
Okay, I
it's
might have
like,
to do a
"Oh."
career change.
Right? It's like, "Oh, outside, sport, in the sunshine, all the things that are supposed to be good." Massachusetts had the National Guard come in and take the disc golf baskets out of the parks.
That makes no sense because it was outside and there's not Frisbee golf is
Right.
never like where people are crowding. It's
There
it's
were
like,
people calling the cops on each other over not wearing masks outside while walking your dog.
holy
It
fuck.
was absolutely wild. They were rationing stuff at the supermarkets. The state was telling people to pick one designated person to leave your house once a week for
God, I remember
groceries.
that. Wow, it's like so quickly that we forget how fucking intense. And ridiculous it was.
It was just terrible. So we did that. We went down. We checked out some houses. We cared less about one of them being infested by roaches than we normally would have, because we were like, oh my God, just get me out of here. And
Yeah.
I'll still remember there was something I needed to pick up at Target, and we walked into the Target, and most of the people didn't have masks, and I stood there and I cried in Target.
Oh.
And so we drove back up. We packed up all our stuff in a pod. A tree fell on our house. We said, F it, and we just dipped.
That's a sign right there.
We gave away most of our stuff. The rest of our life, we like fit into a single pod and said, you know what? We'll worry about the house later. And we got some roofers to patch it. And then we sold it 6 months later. And like, yeah, we left our house. We left everything.
Wow. So your house was just sitting there for 6 months before you sold it.
Yes.
Whoa. I didn't
And
know you
we
could sell a house without being around for it. Like without being there.
We got a good real estate agent, and we also had a friend that would go into the house periodically and turn on lights and switch things around and park there for a while, because we definitely had some crackheads in our neighborhood, and we were afraid they were going to break in and steal the pipes.
Whoa. It's just steel pipes. Yeah. So your friend set up like a Home Alone series of cardboard figures and she'd be,
Basically,
like,
yeah.
behind like pulling them. Okay. That's a good friend. Wow. And so how did you finally decide on a house? Like, did you have to very, very much overpay?
Well, we rented for what was supposed to be a year, but then I got pregnant, and there was like mold in the house and all this other stuff, and we started. It was like slumlord management company. We kept telling them there was a leak in the roof, and they were like, "No, it's condensation from the air conditioning." Okay, cool. Tell that to the hole that just opened up in the kitchen because the ceiling fell in.
It's a condensation hole.
Oh yeah, it's nice breeze coming through there. We just our really only qualifications were, enough bedrooms so that I could have an office and potentially 3 children, and a lot of land, and it needed to be within 10 minutes of a good disc golf course. Because priorities.
Oh, they have disc golf even in South Carolina.
Oh my God, it's huge here. It's actually the most competitive state in the country for disc golf.
So you guys like run around? Because like when we played it in college, it was like very casual and we would be drunk and high doing it. And
I mean, that's how most people play if they're not professional.
Wow.
And we just needed to have a bunch of land, and we got that, and it's great. Most of our neighbors are cows, and yet there are like 4 Walmarts within 10 or 15 minutes, and
wow, that's really the
Jesus
best of both
chickens right
worlds.
down the street. It's great.
And do you know your neighbors?
Well, I don't know the cows very well,
right.
but the 2 neighbors next door, the only other neighbors, yes, we do know them.
Is it true that light brown cows like taste better than other kinds of cows? Like my friend like grew up on a farm, told me that, and I was like,
I don't know yet. I'm hoping to get some chickens in the spring, and I've told they're like the gateway drug to homesteading. So
chickens are a gateway animal. Okay.
So if that ever progresses to cows, I will let you know.
Aw, that's so great though. I'm so jealous, but excited. What do you find like is the most work? Like what is easier than you thought about where you live, and what's harder?
It is hard to make adult friends not being a church person, because everybody is a church person, and sometimes I look on their Facebooks and all the cool little social events that the churches have, and I'm like, man, I wish I could get into Jesus.
Oh,
But I'm just, it's not my thing.
You got to let Jesus get into you.
Maybe let him slide into my DMs.
Yeah, let him slide in. Aw. So, right. So unless you're into church stuff, it's harder to make adult friends. That makes sense. I mean, that's kind of true.
Yeah.
Just about everywhere.
But other than that, everything is easier. Like everyone is so nice. I've only had to deal with a handful of government employees, but they didn't hate their lives as much as they normally do.
Okay.
This is wild. I was really late in registering my car. There's a deadline apparently that I didn't know about it. And I was like 90 days late. And the form specifically says don't put whiteout on the form. And the lady at the DMV was just like, when did you get here? And I was like, oh, September 1st. And she was like, no, you didn't. And she whited it out and changed
That's
it so I didn't have to pay a
awesome.
late fee at the DMV. I was like,
Yes.
ah!
That's a small town value right there. When someone's like, I know the deal. I'll help you out. That's so
Yeah.
great. Wow. That's exciting. What kind of videos do you find yourself like? What kinds of issues do you find yourself enjoying to cover the most?
Well, I like covering Second Amendment stuff a lot, but I find that the whole time I have been a YouTuber, and I don't even like that word YouTuber. It sounds so, I don't know, hipstery or something.
It does. It sounds like everything you have to be covered in logos or something, or like,
and like entitled, I don't know. But my entire YouTube career, I've really gotten everyone is just like, oh, you're a gun tuber, and I'm like,
gun
yes, but I
tubing. I've never
also
heard of that.
cover these other things. So it kind of goes in waves. I really like covering some of the really woke ridiculousness as well. And I really like covering that because I think that the world needs to see how far into like newspeak, doublespeak, 1984 stuff we're getting. But also, my 9 to 5 world was I was a mental health therapist in the state of Massachusetts. I had to be very
Wow.
careful about what I said in case anyone ever found my YouTube. And I did have 3 clients actually find my YouTube. And then I had June of 2020, a former coworker doxed me. So I had BLM coming after me. And I had to be very careful about what I did talk about on my channel and events that I chose to go to and things like that in case someone found me out, because I'd be talking about political issues, and yet I'd have clients sitting in my office saying, anyone who didn't vote for Hillary Clinton deserves to be shot, or
Oof.
I'm going to kill myself because Donald Trump is president. So
Isn't it funny how those are the people that find themselves into the mental health offices? You know what I mean? Like,
well, I mean,
almost like
and
the pattern. Yeah.
wildly enough, there were therapists that would say things like that too. But now that I've sort of shed that yoke, I told people that I was closing for maternity leave and I'd be back in a year, but I'm never opening back up ever.
Bye.
But
I definitely know
now,
that feeling of feeling like you have to have a secret life. Like you have to,
exactly.
you're expressing yourself and you have to keep it under wraps. Like I have always felt that way as a stand-up comic, but even more so in the last few years, like while I was still juggling a day job and just like expressing my beliefs. And I found like the more my profile would raise and the more like higher profile shows I would get on, like my last boss actually discovered that I was on the Megyn Kelly podcast. And that's how he found out I was at January 6th, and he flipped the fuck out. I saw his emails between him and HR. Like, I know he wanted to fire me ever since he discovered that. So that's when it's like, I got to the point where I was like, all right, well, the shit I'm doing is too big to hide this anymore, because the guy was like very entitled millionaire, like your typical elitist guy working in entertainment. So he didn't give a fuck about what I thought, or, never asked me how, they don't care. It's like, you're the assistant. Nobody gives a fuck. So I know that feeling of having to really, and he was, he had pictures on his office wall, him with Obama, him with Hillary. Like he would be such an ass licker of all these elites. So I know the feeling like it gets hard to hide who you really are. And so was this another, like a fellow, like a social worker, like that worked with you that kind of was doxing you?
Yeah. I mean, and I don't have proof that it was her, but, context clues and circumstantial evidence. Yeah. Yeah. And what it was it was in the height of like the summer of love of peaceful protests. And where I lived in Massachusetts, I lived near a small city called Brockton. It's basically like the Chicago of Massachusetts. It's a terrible place. Don't go there ever. And there was a BLM protest scheduled to go on there. And, I had friends that lived in that city and around it. And I posted something about, like, oh, hey, there's supposed to be a protest there. They're already talking about Antifa getting bussed in. Stay safe and stay loaded, or something like that. And someone on my personal private Facebook page took screenshots of that and disseminated out on the internet and said, oh, this is so-and-so. Her name is this. This is her YouTube channel. She's a therapist. And I had people find my listing for my office. I had people emailing me at my professional email, telling me that they were watching me. And my office was close enough to my house that at the time that I walked to work, and I was like so nervous. And actually there was a point in time that I was on my live stream, and the police station wasn't far, the police and fire station, and something was going on, and all these cars whipped by, and you could see all the flashing lights, and my husband was coming and dropping off food, and I didn't know that, and he's banging on the door, and everyone on the chat flipped out because they thought I was getting swatted.
You're like, goodbye, everyone. This is my final show.
It was pretty scary. I was freaked out. Thankfully, that blew over, but I mean, I had to really lock down my Facebook even more. I have to have a fake name on it now. I ended up taking down all of my professional therapy listings.
Wow. So this is before you were even like thinking of leaving. This is like, you were like fully fucking doxxed.
Oh yeah. Yes. Yes. Luckily at that point I was working for myself, so I didn't have a boss.
Okay.
But yeah.
Damn.
It was very not great.
Oh my God. So just so I'm clear, like the person that you think doxed you was somebody that you used to kind of work in an office with, or just
we were in a group practice together, and she had actually asked me to start a practice with her at one point too, and I ended up not, for whatever reason. I don't remember what it was. There was some reason, but I didn't do it. And I'm pretty sure it was her because she remained friends with someone else. And I don't know. But I'm like 99% sure that it was her.
Was there any blowback? Like, what was it like while you were still at the office, or did all this come after you left?
Well, the blowback, I mean, luckily nothing really bad happened, but it was definitely anxiety provoking. The emails I was getting were spoofed emails from BLM, like, oh, we're watching you, we're coming for you. Oof. Stuff like that. So it was pretty scary because, we were seeing in the news all the things that people were doing. They had the Chop. I know it changed Chaz. It changed names so many times, but there were all the shootings going on over there, and so it was pretty scary. We started sleeping with an AR and an AK like propped up against the window, up on the second floor.
That's so sweet. That's like my dream. Is to just like have a ton of guns. Just have them all around. So did you right? Okay, so you had some while you were in Massachusetts, and then when you moved could get more, or like more developed when you moved?
We had the ones that Massachusetts allowed. And some of them technically became illegal because Massachusetts has a permanent assault weapons ban that Mitt Romney put in right after the federal one sunsetted. So, but the Massachusetts ban was more strict, where you could only have one evil feature. So you can't have so what I had at the time, I had like an M&P Sport from Smith & Wesson. It's an AR platform basically, and we put a pistol grip on it. So like, oh, you couldn't have anything else on it. And so the stock had to be pinned, so it was like too long for me to shoot. But Maura Haley is the Attorney General in Massachusetts. And one day she just decided, it was in 2016, July of 2016, I believe, she suddenly decided that the manufacturers had found too many ways around the Massachusetts assault weapons ban. So she put into rule via an open letter that she put in either the Boston Herald or the Boston Post, a copycat assault weapons ban. And it said basically all the stuff that we owned was now illegal.
Oof.
But out of the kindness of her heart, she put in a grandfather clause so that we wouldn't get anything confiscated, but we could never sell it or give it to anyone else or anything, and you weren't really supposed to use it. And it was just ridiculous. Massachusetts has all these layers of gun control where not only do they have all these insane laws, but they have two separate lists of pistols and rifles that are legal and that you are allowed to buy. There's like this public list, and then there's also this special secret list that only the Attorney General has. And the lists are different, so there's always this confusion as to whether or not like a Gen 3 Glock 19 is legal or not in Massachusetts. Some say it is, some say it isn't. Either way, you just hope that a cop never sees you with one and decides that they're having a bad day.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm seeing here this article this is just 5 days ago. New gun restriction laws in Massachusetts. The Supreme Court ruled in favor of the Second Amendment in the Bruin decision. Earlier this month, the governor signed into law language to bring Massachusetts into compliance with the Bruin decision while also strengthening existing gun laws. Let's see. Struck down New York's need. Oh, wow. Massachusetts gun laws were brought into question after the Bruin decision struck down New York's need for proper cause to carry a concealed handgun. Massachusetts had similar good reason clause, which licensing authorities can no longer enforce. However, the bill that was signed into law does impose new restrictions. A person with a harassment order against them can no longer obtain a license to carry. Really? Oh, okay. Well, that I guess makes sense. The new law also requires licensing authorities to deny applications or renewals to applicants who could pose a risk to public safety.
See,
But then again, like, who
Massachusetts already
decides
did
that? Okay.
So the police chief of your town or city or state police is who decides that. So every town and city in Massachusetts has their own police force, which is not how it works in a lot of other areas. To get your license to carry, it varies slightly by town and city, but the basic format in Massachusetts is you have to fill out an application, you have to provide character references, you have to do an interview with the chief of police, and you had to provide good cause, wherein a lawyer, a Second Amendment lawyer from Massachusetts, will tell you all legal purposes, and that's it. But they ask you in the interview anyways. So I had to say something about, I'm a 5'3" woman and I'm a therapist. And at the time, I was doing in-home therapy in some really bad areas, and some of my clients were Bloods and Crips and Latin Kings.
For real?
Yes.
Wow. Did you learn all the gang signs?
No.
Okay.
But I learned a whole lot about all the different gangs, and it was awkward because I was the therapist for so many of them that apparently they would meet at the local bars and talk about me, which was weird.
Wow, you were a gang therapist.
I
How
was.
exciting.
But
what was like their most common problems among like gang
actually
members?
trauma usually.
Makes sense.
Yeah, a lot of them were beaten as kids and came from really traumatic, broken homes, and
Yeah, and it just kind of keeps going and it
Yeah.
kind of repeats
But
itself. Yeah.
I mean, being a gang therapist made it pretty easy to get my license to carry because I think the cops like took sympathy upon me.
Yeah.
And then when they would sneak their gun into session and be like, "Oh yeah," and try to like intimidate me, I'd be like, "Yeah, well, mine is bigger."
You literally had clients try to intimidate you by flashing their gun like during a session. Like what
Yeah.
would prompt that? Like what you're just talking about their child, right? I mean, like, yeah, without talking about the things
I
you're not
got
supposed to talk
barricaded in my
about.
office by
Yeah.
a crackhead once that showed me his balls. I mean, things just happen.
How exciting.
It was actually pretty scary.
No, that sounds horrible. I was just trying to make light of it. Like, yeah. Oh my God. Right. And you're there like all by yourself. It's
Yeah.
something I never had to think about. Like, you're just all the work I've done has been either in offices or with like rooms full of strangers. So a crackhead showed you his balls, and then you probably didn't get the response that he wanted. Like, you'd be like, yes, great job.
Well, I mean, it was that, and also he was telling me how he was going as soon as he left session, he was gonna go kill his drug dealer.
Hmm.
And when
And
you're
you're
a
like,
therapist,
yes, tell me more about that.
you're a mandated reporter, so by law, you have to get a supervisor and call the cops and section him to go get a
Wow.
mandatory psych eval. And when you're in a tiny, tiny room and he puts himself between you and the door, it's a little hard to do.
Man, that sucks. And yeah, I'm sure there were times you felt like worried for your safety. So you'd have to
Yes.
carry like during your sessions. Yeah.
Yeah, I wasn't supposed to. I wasn't even supposed to have it on the property, but fuck that.
You're like, I don't want to be murdered. So here we go. No, that makes sense. All right. I think there's a couple of questions in the chat that I'm ignoring from Plotbot. Liberty, you want to meet up at the bar library? I wonder, is that
I
one
don't
of
think
yours?
my husband and baby would be a big fan of that.
Yeah. Okay. So that's not one of yours.
My
There might
trips to the library now are for baby story hour.
There could be some simps here. Okay, Furby Slayer. True punk lines up with libertarian beliefs, anti-authority. It's the only way to be.
Mm-hmm.
True. It's like one has spikes and one doesn't. Jenny L. Vargas. Bimbo powered. That is all. Love you, see. Yes, bimbo power indeed. NVIDIA church stuff. Interesting kink, but all right. Yes, into church stuff. Matthew Hammond, would she be willing to start a weekly segment with Josie, formerly the redheaded libertarian? Two ladies who escaped Massachusetts might be interesting. Have you heard of her?
I have. I follow her on Twitter. I think she's in Florida now.
I think so.
I think that I asked her to be on my show once, but her kid was sick at the time and we like couldn't make it work. But now I actually have people that are just handing me guests for my show, but now baby does not like hanging out with dad for more than
Aw.
20 or 30 minutes at a time. So I am not doing shows right now.
That makes sense. Yeah, the baby kind of just gets attached to you, which you're the fridge. So
Yes.
yeah. And it's only going to be like that, what, the first year?
I don't know about that, but
Aw.
it's okay. I cherish
It's all
it.
good. It's all good. Maximum. Yeah, but definitely I should have you on Simpcast. Stay as long as you want. And we could do I could do like a massive redhead takeover. That would be fun. Although now I'm so sad because this is like, I wanted a peachy strawberry blonde Liberty Doll. Like, I don't think
That is not peachy.
I want to show up. I want to show the picture that I had pinned on Pinterest that I was like showing her. And this was a girl that I went to because I loved her haircuts. Her haircuts were really good. And then I was like, okay, my lady in White Plains, not so great on haircuts, but she's decent on color. And I was like, let me go see Alex because I like, from what I remembered, she was like really good at cuts and coloring. I have to find this picture. Okay. Well, I'll just show this whole page. So I don't know. And then I told her and she's like, well, you could come back and we could do some highlights. So I don't know if I should do that. So this is what I wanted to go for.
Oh.
This is kind of what I already had. Like something in this peachy strawberry blonde world.
Yeah, that's not what's going on right now.
No, that's not what's going on. So, but like once you start involving a lot of bleach, it like
Yeah.
damages the hair. But this is like, I don't know. Maybe I'll wash it out once and see where I'm at. I don't know. Now I just feel like a basic brunette bitch. Like I feel like I have to go to Target and I'm on all day on Amazon and I'm just like, oh my God, I need to go to yoga. Okay. Maximum Weeb. Love to see Liberty Doll. She's phenomenal. Would be awesome to see Angela McArdle. She's a very fun, smart guest, friend of Dave Smith and Michael Malice. She's the new chair of the Libertarian Party and she's a Frank Frazetta fan. Ooh, okay. I'll write her name down. Also join the Discord and also put these put these recommendations in the Discord. Our Angela. Okay, I'm writing this down on a piece of paper that will immediately get thrown out.
That is also how I operate.
Post-its, I'm never buying them again. Like it's a scam because you're just like, oh wow, this is great, but then you just crumple them up and you're just I just feel like I'm constantly writing things down on Post-its and then throwing them away.
Where they just get like they pile up eventually and
yes, you take
never
them off,
look at them ever again.
Then they're like a pile of the whole pile of unsticky Post-its that sit on the side.
Yep.
Because it's not the most urgent, so you take it down, but now you're just like you have all these basically papers and they're covered in like hair and dust and they don't stick anymore.
Mm-hmm.
These are my struggles. Maximum Weeb, thank you again for 20. Cody Wilson would also be a fantastic guest, author of Come and Take It, inventor of Ghost Gunner 3D printer for guns, and founder of Defense Distributed. Incredibly articulate speaker and ensured all gun control will be moot. Ooh, okay.
Yes,
cool.
He created the Liberator.
Ooh, that sounds like a sex toy, to be honest.
It was like the first 3D printed gun, and it basically looked like the top of a Windex bottle. It was only capable of one shot at the time.
Great for kids. Great for like young adults. Just one shot. That's fun. Okay, thanks, Weeb. I'll check it out. And from NVIDIA, Hysterical merch incoming. Oh my God, my early Twitter days. Okay, cool. Wow, that's so interesting though. Like your time as a would you say you were more social worker or psychologist or psychiatrist?
So I was a mental health therapist. We are forever at war with social workers because they don't get the same kind of training or as much training as we do. But
that's what I hear. I hear that there's no world in which social workers are equipped to come in and basically like replace cops in like a mental health crisis scenario.
No, I mean, and there are some mental health workers. I'm not saying that they could replace cops, but I had a stint at a crisis center for a little while. I worked in places where there were drive-by shootings. Like, I definitely have a lot of experience talking people down from violence. Of course, that can't be done in every single circumstance, but I definitely had some people, I talked them down from committing suicide by cop and things like that. So, but
like if I were how would you talk me down? Like if I'm your average person who how would you even get to, it's not like I would call you, be like, hey, I think I'm about to do
I mean,
something.
some people did. I don't know. It's just, I don't know.
I imagine I would try to
things.
I would start with a joke. I would just be like, or I would start like heavily complimenting them. I think how I would talk someone out of violence is I would just hit on them relentlessly and just like charm them until they were like, you know what? Maybe we can go out for drinks and I can calm down. But that's what I do every time.
That's how you get your license taken and you get fined like $1 million.
Oh, right. You're not allowed to hit on people. I think that's just usually what I do when I'm in a tough spot. I always try to like charm my way out of a tough situation. But yeah, it doesn't work when you're an actual therapist.
No.
Chrissie, think of your simps. Oh my God. Yeah. Try to simp your way out. Interesting. Wow. Okay. So I just really respect you from doing a job that sounds like you were putting yourself in possible physical danger all the time.
Thanks.
You're like, thanks. So now are you completely out?
Oh yeah, fuck therapy.
That field. Okay.
No, I mean, it's weird too because maybe, I don't know, 10 years ago or something, I was like, "Oh, well, once we have kids, like you're gonna have to stay home with the baby because I can't imagine staying home and giving up my career." And now I'm like, oh my God, get me away from therapy. I don't want to do it anymore. I don't want an office. I don't want to deal with the insurance companies. I just want to be a crunchy, stay-at-home mom in my garden, making bread and like learning about sourdough
Wow.
starters. I don't even
You-
did a
So
complete 180.
did you join the bread making craze during the pandemic when it was like super popular, or were you into it before then?
No, I started trying it out this year. It was literally I need to find something to do that isn't completely baby centric that I can also do at home in the 15 to 20 minutes that I might have wherever. That was kind of immediately postpartum. So, and bread is cool because you put the stuff together, you mix it up, and then you have to let it sit there for an hour or two, which was perfect baby schedule thing to do.
Yeah, you went from having a bun in the oven to having bread in the oven.
Yeah.
I thought that was gonna come out way funnier. Okay, here we go. Oh, right, from Jiro, Cholos are on BetterHelp now. That's great. That's so interesting. Marlon Moncrief for 5. Which religious faith, if any, did Chrissie Mayr grow up in? If so, does Chrissie Mayr still practice a religion? I was raised Methodist, which is Protestant. So kind of what's lumped in with that? Lutheran, a few other types of Protestantism, and they're just basically like, yeah, we don't want to be like the Catholics. We don't want to worship idols. We're not into the stained glass. So it's
I
like
mean,
our
I
church.
grew up Catholic and went to Catholic school. I
Okay.
don't want to be one of the Catholics either.
Oh yeah, Catholics, they need to work on their PR right now.
Oh my God.
Things, they're struggling a little bit, but I didn't mind it. I liked growing at Methodist because it was like very chill. It was really more what I remember from childhood is like the Easter egg hunt. We'd all be in the like digging in these garbage baskets for eggs, and I remember like the little Halloween parade, and it was just like wholesome and a sense of community. It was like the same church I think my parents got married at, and we would have like raced to the verse and like could have, I don't know, I don't remember very much like Bible study, but I think that's because I was a kid and it's like I was confirmed at whatever it is. I was actually baptized at like 8. I remember being baptized because I was like standing up and I was like dunking my head in this thing, and then confirmed at like what, 13 or 14. And then there was a big scandal in my church. We had a female pastor and she ran away with somebody's husband. Yeah, I was like, woo! I was like, go. I was like, look at you, Louise, doing it. I don't know where she escaped to. I should look her up. But yeah, she ran away with Bill Thomas.
Wow.
And it made sense because Barbara Thomas was not great to look at. She had sort of let herself go. She was rough. But again, it's like, she's like a church mom, but she did let herself go. And not like this Louise, the pastor, was like not much better looking.
It's funny, we had a scandal too. I don't remember what grade I was in, but it was somewhere between K through 8 at that school. And the priest that ran and overlooked the school, he slipped on the ice outside in front of the school in the winter, and he fell and he died. And when he died, they found out he had been embezzling all the tuition money and giving it to his gay lover.
Oh my God, that's so
Mhm.
much. That's so many things. Wow. You know what it was? It was the Lord smiting him. Saying,
Maybe.
yeah, like you didn't listen to me when I told you to stop embezzling and being gay. So now I'm going to make you die on this ice.
Yep.
So interesting. I also remember we had like a vacation Bible study teacher who he was funny. I feel like had a flair for theater. Like he could have been like, I feel like he always should have been doing show tunes because he was always so performative. I'm like, this is fucking church. Like, tone it down. We don't need it. We don't need all this. He like swung his leg up on a desk. He was very big on putting his legs up on the desk, and he farted in the middle of something, and then he tried to pass it off and like make it casual by like making farting sounds with his mouth, like immediately after, like he farted, he'd be like, "Brr," and then he'd be like, and we were like,
No.
"You can't cover this up." Like, we all know what happened. Yeah, he was a little bit of a close talker. Wore kind of tight pants. I don't know. It's like, but when you're a kid, you're always aware of when your teacher's genitals are like
Yeah.
getting close to your face.
Yeah.
Like, sometimes you have a teacher that just was like out of touch and just like they'd sit on a desk or something and you'd be like, like, not that any of my teachers were trying to be inappropriate, but you're very aware as a kid. You're like, oh, like this is like one of the few adults that you're around, and you're
I'm
like,
actually glad to hear that you were also aware, because I was aware and I didn't know if it was weird that I was aware.
yeah, and I'm just like, oh god, it's all right there. Don't look directly into the eye of the storm. Like, just like you're, yeah, no bulges. Were you raised? Oh, yeah, you were raised Catholic.
Yep.
And like communion confirmed. What do you guys do?
So yeah, baptized as a baby at some point. I don't know. First communion. I don't even know when that was, like second or third grade. And then there was a scandal in our house because I chose not to get confirmed. Confirmation was at 15. And but your grandmother will be so upset.
Aww.
But my family didn't even go to church except for my grandparents, so I don't know why my mom was so upset about it. But
my dad was very upset that we all went to church because he was raised Catholic. And I've told this story before, but my dad's dad was in a cult growing up. He was a part of the Mooney cult. And he would give a lot of like the family's money to this Mooney cult. And then he ended up divorcing my grandmother, so my dad's mom, at a time where like people weren't really getting divorced, and participated in a mass wedding with a random Asian lady.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. So my dad was like, somewhat understandably very against organized religion, begrudgingly would go to church, but like since my mom's mom was really into it, like owned 100 Bibles. Every time I'd go to my grandma's house, she's slipping a New Testament into my purse. Just always like gently pushing it on you. And as an adult, I have more appreciation for that stuff now. But yeah, like my dad was like really upset, I guess. Just did not want us to be going to church. But like since it was so chill and light, he was okay with it. But yeah, I'm like, that was like a straight up cult. So yeah. And then it apparently like that's where the money went. Like he couldn't join Boy Scouts because the Moonies were getting all the money.
Aww.
They couldn't buy good meat because the Moonies were getting all the money.
Oh, that's so sad.
It is kind of sad. I should cut my dad a little more slack for now. Matthew Perkins, female pastor, very breaded. Yeah. People are saying breaded versus unbreaded. Like if something is unbreaded, it's like more in its raw form. Correct me if I'm wrong, chat. And if something is breaded, I thought a female pastor would be unbreaded. You know what? I'm just going to move on. Maximum Weeb and the Ginger Side. Also, where's the Discord link? It's in there somewhere. I'll find it. Thanks, Weeb. Yeah. So that's crazy. I should do an interview with somebody like that knows more about the Moonies. Because I never met that grandfather. Like he died, I think, when I was in college. Like I was on like at a meet or something for diving, and they just like I didn't go to the funeral. And I think my dad was like really mad at the funeral. I heard that he was like yelling and crying and like kicking dirt and like I was like, ooh, so many unresolved issues.
Therapist brain, the more complicated the relationship with someone, when they die, the more complicated the grief.
Oh. Do you know I was seeing a therapist for years. And therapists, at least mine, didn't tell me like, we're going to accomplish this and then I'll set you free into the world. Like I feel like unless we had a disagreement, like she got mad at me because I voted for Trump, and we very much
I told you the therapists are like that too.
She realized that she and I differed very much politically. Like she let it be known, And she's like,
that's
as
unethical.
long as you didn't go inside the building. I'm like, what the fuck would it matter either way? I'm like, I didn't, but like very judgy. Like, I can tell there's nobody in her world that was like at the six that had any clue of what really happened. And I was just like
Yeah.
so judgy. I remember telling her, like, when I was first started seeing her, I said, "Is there anybody that you wouldn't be a therapist to?" And she said, "Yeah, there's two types of people, pedos." I was like, "I get that. I feel that." And she's like, "And extreme narcissists like Trump." She would never be a therapist to. So
Well,
yeah.
I've been
So
therapist to both of those kinds of people, not Trump. But
wow, Trump's therapist is here.
no. But I mean, that was one of the hardest things for me was not allowing my politics in, and people would be like, "Oh, who did you vote for?" And I would always like sidetrack
Change the
the
subject.
conversation or like put it back on them of like, "Oh, well, why is it so important for you to know who I voted for?" and things like that. I would never allow my politics to come in, and that was really hard for me because A, these people were wrong, but B, I knew there were other therapists out there that were just like, "Oh, yeah, totally, go Hillary, go Bernie, go whoever." And I'm like, "But they're wrong."
Oh, it is hard. It is almost like it's easier to have a therapist that agrees with you politically a little bit because like that understands like your values.
I mean, I will say whenever I had someone be like, "Well, I was watching Fox News," and I would like have this sigh of relief.
You're like, "Is that a Don't Tread on Me shirt?" Okay.
Yes.
Welcome. That's interesting. And at the end of the day, therapists are people too. It's impossible to be completely objective.
Mhm.
But yeah, it was that. I would have probably still been seeing her. It was that, and then she raised her prices and said, "Oh, I know a couple that make more than you, and they're paying more." And I was like, yeah.
Oh.
And she wanted to raise my rates, and we were still doing Zoom therapy because we moved to Zoom therapy over the pandemic.
Yep.
So just weird. I
Yeah,
did like
no.
her very much at first, but I don't know. Sometimes I wonder if I should start seeing one again, like just to like clean, do like a spring cleaning of emotions or something.
Get the cobwebs out of the corners.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. Premium Nick. Liberty Doll, you look stunning as always.
Aw,
That's
thank
the super
you.
chat. Ooh. I
Thanks.
didn't know Batman was one of your fans. Do you find yourself, because you are a trained therapist, do you find yourself maybe unintentionally getting into like a therapist mode when talking to like your family or anything like that? Like, do you find yourself
My
slipping into
husband
that?
says that I do. But sometimes he'll be like upset about something, and I am awkward and don't know what to say. So I'll be like, "Oh, uh-huh, mm-hmm. Oh, that sucks." And he'll be like, "You're therapizing me."
Oh, and you'll be like, that'll be $100.
Well, and it's hard for me actually when I interview other people because I'm trained to nod, and like make little acknowledgement sounds while they're talking. And if you're on like a podcast platform, that really doesn't work, especially if it's one where the whoever's on camera changes depending on if you're making noise or not.
Right.
So that's been hard to try to rein in and pull back.
Okay. Yeah, I know that feeling where you're like, I'm listening. I'm active listening. NVIDIA, why get therapy when you can get validation from your Sims for free? So true. I mean, I didn't go to therapy for validation. I think I have a tough relationship. I went into therapy thinking that I just had daddy issues, and then I came out learning that I had both mom and dad issues. So that was fun. I was like, hooray. Oh, we got the porn bot in the chat. Block.
Oh, you've been getting one too?
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one that comes in just about every time. They find you. They always find you. Okay, so we talked about Massachusetts. We talked about my hair color that went awry. Okay, do you know this? Oh my God. Nick Cannon is about to have his 10th baby. 10th!
You said that before we went live, and I had to go Google who he was because I don't follow pop culture at all.
That's good. That's healthy. This is nuts. Nick Cannon reveals he's set to welcome his 10th child. 41-year-old and ex-girlfriend Brittany Bell expecting as he awaits the birth of his 9th with Abby De La Rosa. So he'll like knock somebody up. What's the funniest part about Nick Cannon is like one of these kids, he was like, "Oh, I'm on a sex diet. I'm taking a break." And then literally like a couple weeks later, it came out that someone was knocked up by him. So it's just so funny. I'm like, man.
See, I'm like fully embracing some aspects of like the trad life. So at first when you were like, "Oh, 10 children," I was like, "Oh, that's so nice and wholesome." And now I'm like,
Nah.
"Oh." Oh no.
He is not living trad life. The
No.
actor of 41 shocked fans as he took to Instagram on Wednesday to announce that he is expecting his 10th child with model Brittany Bell. Cannon revealed the news, and he also has twins with Mariah Carey, I believe.
Oh, jeez.
He revealed the news with a video of a maternity photo shoot with Brittany, writing in the caption, "Time stopped and this happened." Oh my God. No, it's like you couldn't stop to put on a condom and it happened. The news comes as a father, or at least pull out. Nick Cannon has no pull out game, clearly. The news comes as a father of 8 is currently awaiting the birth of his 9th child with
Oh my
Abby De La
God.
Rosa.
Well, and who
Oh
are
my
these
God, she's
women that are letting him
naked.
in?
Clearly, like 10 of them. He must be so fucking charming. Or maybe he just has a fantastic penis. I don't know.
Maybe.
Oh my God, who does a
Instead of like
photo
pussy
shoot like this
blindness, it's like
naked?
dick blindness.
This is too naked for a maternity shoot. I don't know. I think this is like, oh my God. Okay, so this is him with the model Brittany Bell, and the women are happy because they're like, sweet, my shit is paid for the rest
Yep.
of my life. Like I am set.
Well, I guess if you're famous, you probably can't avoid child support.
Right. The baby's due date is unknown, though Brittany looked to be far along in the video. Yeah, that looks ready to
Yeah.
happen. Brittany is already a mother of 2 to 2. So some of these are repeat baby moms, which you guess we'll give them credit for. So Brittany is already a mother to 2 of Nick's kids. Daughter's name is Powerful. 1 and son Golden, 5. So like I guess they're naming the kids like, I don't know, different words that describe showers.
I mean that is how, if they weren't famous, that is how you get bullied and like thrown in the
Golden.
dumpster at school.
Powerful. It's like, well, now you have to like pursue a career in fitness. You know, you can't be named Powerful and be 200 pounds. It's like you don't have that option when your name is Powerful. They also appeared in the video. She wore different outfits for the shoot. In one, she posted shirtless as she proudly showed off her far long bump. I feel like this kind of a woman, it's like you keep having babies with somebody. It's like you're like, well, I'm just gonna keep getting pregnant by you until you marry me. That I feel like that's this woman's plan.
Could be.
Or like the more kids she has, the more she's like, I feel like I'm locked down, and now I have another 18
well, and the
years.
more money she gets.
Yep, and she doesn't have to get a job now. Wow. Meanwhile, Nick stood beside her and cradled her baby at some points. Oh, her belly at some points. Nick already shares twins, Moroccan and Monroe, with ex-wife Mariah Carey. Twins.
Moroccan?
Oh yeah, the Moroccan and Marolan. Yeah, Moroccan, Monroe, Powerful, and Golden are all the Nick Cannon babies.
Oh my God.
Twins Zion Mixoldian and Zillion Her.
What?
None of Nick Cannon's kids have regular names. They're all named like
Oh my
nonsense
God,
words.
Legendary Love.
Yep. Yeah. So he has twins with Mariah Carey, twins with Abby De La Rosa, Zion and Zillion, and son Legendary Love with Bree Taisi.
Oh
Legendary Love. This is the name of a boy. There's a little boy named Legendary Love. Again, pressure to be good in bed. When your name
He's
is
gonna have a reality TV show someday.
Yeah. Oh, for real. When your name is Legendary Love, there's a lot of pressure to put on a kid.
It is.
Damn.
It is.
What are they gonna call him? Ledge or Legend for short? Maybe Legend. That's almost a normal name. Cannon is also father to a child with Alyssa Scott, Zen, who died at 5 months. Oh, that's sad.
Oh.
Who died at 5 months old in December of 21. So are they counting him in this 10? Maybe if Zen were alive, that would be 11.
I have no idea.
Wow. Homeboy has a baseball team. Wow. Good for him. What do the comments say? Those women are so dumb. Is it all about the money? Yes. No, they're not dumb. They're smart because they don't want to have to get jobs. It's like, keep getting knocked up by Nick Cannon or get a job at the bank. It's like the decision is simple. This man needs to be stopped. Stop this man. Nothing impressive about impregnating every woman he looks at. His kids are nothing more than the physical proof of his self-indulged prowess. Sad because he has personality. Nobody is sad. It's like he is not sad.
No.
He's doing just fine. That's a lot of kids, though. What do you think? What are holidays like?
Well, I mean, just because he has all those kids doesn't mean he actually spends time with them.
That's true. That's true. And you got to just hope that like some of these 10 kids, like let's see, if all these 10 kids go to college, how much money is that?
Oh God.
10 times. By the time they go to college, which will be in what, like 15 years? It's very possible that like
Well, I
all
mean,
these
who
kids could
knows?
be, yeah.
Because I know Biden's trying to do the student loan forgiveness, and so that's just subsidizing college even more. So the prices are going to go up even more. So who knows what it'll be at that point?
Yeah, this was going to be one of the things that I was going to talk about was, yeah, Biden student loan forgiveness, Teen Vogue, the most reputable of sources, an extension plan. And I wonder, because this has been something the libs have been asking for a while, but it's like, I wonder with now, I feel like colleges and academia has a lot of bad press because they're
Mhm.
just hotbeds of indoctrination.
Oh God,
Is
yeah.
this something to encourage people to maybe give college a whirl because they know that they'll have some student loan
Maybe.
debt forgiveness?
Maybe. I listen to Tim Pool pretty frequently, and he's been saying something that like the left basically doesn't have kids, so they want to take
Right.
yours.
Yes. They're not making their own because they're not coupling up with anybody. They're
Mhm.
just fucking around and going to brunch. I know because that was my life. And then yeah, they're becoming teachers or that's like a school librarian
Yep. Yep.
that wants to have complete control over your freaking kids. And that's how they make their kids. Let's see. The Biden administration announced they will forgive $10,000 in federal loan debt per borrower and $20,000 for borrowers who also receive Pell Grants. So is that potentially $30,000? The administration will also extend the existing student loan moratorium for another 4 months until the end of
Jeez.
December. The decision applies to undergrad student loans only so it's like this takes you through the midterms, basically.
Yep.
The
Yep.
decision applies to undergrad student loans only and is limited to debtors with an annual income of $125,000 per year. So you have to make less than that. Or under $250K for households. So it's like, oh, typo, Teen Vogue. You're actually getting penalized for making more money, and you're also penalized for paying off your own student loans.
Right.
Like
I mean,
I
I
did.
paid off my student loans, but also I went to community college for the first 2 years, and then I went to a state school because they had a program where if you were, the top tier of GPAs transferring into state school, you got to go for free. So I had this all like worked out because otherwise I would have had to pay it out of pocket all myself. So I didn't have to pay anything until grad school, and that's only where my loans were. And luckily, my husband is an awesome husband and helped me pay those off because the rule was the student loans have to be paid off before we have kids.
Wow.
So, but I'm like, it
Yeah.
doesn't even apply to grad school. So, I mean, but I paid mine off. So, like, where's my 30 grand? Like, that would be pretty cool.
Yeah, if I feel dumb for having paid off
Right?
mine. And yeah, like through saving, and I think the last 10 or 13 grand, I was able to pay off when my grandmother died. I was like, all right, I'll use this all for my student loans. And it's like, well, fuck, I gotta put that towards a house. Could have had a live, love, laugh under the Tuscan sun summer. Could have taken myself on a European finding myself mission, but no. I paid it off like an idiot.
And what's crazy is the government talks about, oh, there's like predatory loan companies and blah, blah, blah. But all of my loans were through the federal government. And you know what the interest rate was? 8%. 8%.
Oof.
And they were government loans. Like they
Damn.
don't want to include themselves in that when they're talking about predatory loan practices. And it's not predatory when you teach kids that signing a contract is binding And if they're borrowing something, you have to give it back.
Yeah.
But
So it's like we, the people who paid off our own student loans, now also have to pay off the student loans of people who are not paying them off
remember,
themselves.
no one making under $400,000 are going to have to pay more in taxes. Wink, wink.
Right, of course. How could I forget? At least 14 million of the roughly 43 million Americans with federal student loans have under 10K in debt and could have the entirety of their debt burden canceled, according to the most recent data. And it's like, even if you are a reasonably responsible person who is not paying off their debt right now, it's because you need your money to like keep your car filled with gas and to keep buying groceries. So really, this is just they're helping out the big business of colleges. That's basically who they're helping out. According to the most recent data from Department of Education, looking at debtors under 35 years old, specifically, about 36% of them have less than 10K in federal student loans and could see their student loan bill wiped clean. We don't currently have data on how many of those millions of debtors would be made ineligible for debt relief because of the income cap. This announcement falls short of the $50,000 per borrower minimum supported by several prominent lawmakers and the NAACP, and even further short of the full debt cancellation backed by hundreds of unions and community groups and many activists and advocates.
So like the commies.
Yes. The commies. That 50,000 benchmark, for example, could cancel debt for at least 33 million debtors, and at least I think they should reward people who make a high income because it's like, right, you're crushing it. You're going to be able to give this much back to society, to the economy. Let's forgive those student loans. It's like, no, the people that are sucking off the system, sucking off the government, no, let's help them out with their student loan debt. Let's see. And for the other nearly 30 million borrowers with more than 10K in student loans, there's no telling how quickly the interest rates already burying borrowers might bring their debt totals back up to the heights they reached before. In an April survey, more than half of the student loan borrowers said they wouldn't be able to afford monthly payments if the moratorium ended. This extension will be the Biden administration's fifth. So they've already extended this 5 times since taking office with previous
and the whole rest of the world has declared the pandemic as over. Like, why why are these people not getting jobs?
Yeah, because they want to encourage people to basically like continue living off the government. Moved from September 30th to January 30th to May 1st, and most recently to August 31st. This will be the 8th total extension since the CARES Act original federal student loan moratorium took effect. The federal student debt total is more $1.6 trillion. It's like, and $1 trillion of those dollars are just people who've given up and are like working at Starbucks.
Yep.
Let's see here. In recent months, Teen Vogue spoken to sexual assault survivors. What does that have to do with this?
Right.
Dealing with but we're Teen Vogue, so we have to mention sexual assault. Dealing with student debt after experiencing campus violence, reported on young people who have student loans but didn't complete their college degrees. Organizers fighting for student debt cancellation have been ramping up public pressure with rallies. Okay, the rest of this article is a little boring. According to the agency, of the 43 million people with federal student debt, 35.4 million of them have loans currently in deferment, forbearance, or default. An additional 7.2 million are either currently in school with student debt or within the 6-month grace period, meaning they aren't required to pay their bill yet. All in all, more than 40 million people currently not making payments on their student loans. Wow. Are waiting extension after extension. You know what it is? So Biden is like, literally, he's just trying to chum the water for everybody. He's like, you know what? I have people living off the government, woke libtards, and now people who want their student debt absolved. These are his voters.
I knew a lot of people, and I had clients that were like, oh, they just like stopped paying on their student loans because they were like, oh, well, you know, like the libs are gonna do, I mean, they were Democrats, so they didn't call them the libs, but they're like, oh yeah, the libs are gonna do student loan forgiveness. Yeah, they're gonna do it eventually, so I'm just not gonna pay.
Right.
Cool beans.
And once they started mentioning even the idea of student loan forgiveness, of course people are going to stop paying. Like
Yep.
if I had debt still, I would have stopped paying because I'd be like, oh, well, this is just going to be taken care of. So it's like they kind of fucking painted themselves into a corner.
Yep.
From Maximum Weeb for 20, only way forgiving all student loans works is seizing college endowments, revoking charters for promoting Marxism, abolish Federal Reserve, and debt Department of Education. Tanks in Harvard Yard. Pete Quiones, friend of Dave Smith. Yeah, that makes
Yep.
sense. Right. Everyone's mentioned that there's billions of dollars in these college endowments, especially at the Ivy level.
Mm-hmm.
Wow.
I believe someone actually introduced a bill recently to get rid of the Department of Education. I mean, it's obviously not going to go
Ooh,
anywhere.
right.
I want to say Thomas Massey tweeted about it recently.
Wow. That's exciting.
It is. I mean, it would be even more exciting if it had a chance, but
Right. Oh boy. And look, I love it. Okay, I'm going to read this last paragraph. Meanwhile, debt activists behind the debt collective, it's always a collective, used their own tactics to secure two big wins. First, they secured 1.7 million in canceled debt for hundreds of former students at Bennett College and all women historically black college. They have to mention this in North Carolina. Soon after, the collective helped with 5.8 billion in canceled debt for 560,000 former students for the infamous for-profit Corinthian colleges. Yeah, why are we still encouraging people to go to colleges to take on debt they can't pay off or can't entirely pay
Right.
off? It's like, even if your debt is paid off, it's like, how many people are still not using their degrees and
So
not
many.
finding work? So it's like this should be a shift. If you're going to put money into something, it's like beef up trade schools, beef up propaganda to go to trade schools, help
Right? I
people
mean,
actually
there's
find jobs.
so many people, even something, like psychology, people don't realize you can't just get a bachelor's degree. You have to go to grad school. You can't get any job beyond being a glorified babysitter with only a bachelor's degree in psychology. And that's true for history, for all kinds of different majors that people take, not realizing, thinking something that they're not going to be able to get a job actually using that degree. I mean, I've known people that got jobs in like business philosophy. Like, what the fuck are you going to do with a business philosophy degree?
Be a business philosopher, of course.
Like, what does that even mean?
Oh my God. This is a good point from Han Chat first. Why are we providing welfare to colleges that fail to provide educations that pay for themselves?
It's an excellent question.
It's an expensive band-aid.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Instead of just uprooting the fucking problem, which is like the uselessness of most higher ed programs.
Yep.
Like I had a communications degree, I had a BA, and had I not gotten into comedy and podcasting, like I would have been probably like a forever assistant, because what else are you qualified to do?
And it's wild. There was actually a study, I'm sure the numbers are different now because it was a while back, but it was something like only 30% of the country has a bachelor's degree and only
That's
like
it? Wow.
3% had a master's degree or higher. And they were pretty much concentrated on the coasts. So like California and the New England area. And people are like, oh, like the South is so uneducated. They're all a bunch of dumb hillbillies. It's like, I definitely know a dude that's a mechanic at the BMW factory that bought his own house before the age of 25.
Whoo! Is he
Like,
single?
no.
Course
No one
not.
here is 25 and single.
Oh, right. When are most people getting married in South Carolina? Probably like right out of
Yeah, that
school.
seems to be. Yeah, I mean, I'm on my first baby, and most people my age that I've met have like 3 or 4 already, and
Whoa.
they're like older. I'm meeting
Wow.
people that are 40 and like I'm expecting my first grandkid, and I'm like, holy crap!
Holy cow.
But they're
Wow.
happy.
Yeah. Yeah, exactly. There was a tweet that I wanted to talk about. I think I might have clicked away from it. It was something like, and I feel this because it's like I'm still living in New York, and I was kind of raised in this culture of like, be single forever, never have kids. It's not cool to have kids. But this guy was basically saying like these millennials that are in their late 30s, early 40s are about to that are, child free or deciding to be childless. It's going to hit them that like they're going to be too old to brunch soon, and they're going to be resentful and angry and very sad for not having kids.
Yep. And like, I don't know, the biological clock thing is real. I thought that it wouldn't hit me, and then one day it hit me, and I remember like literally like being mad that I was refilling my birth control prescription at one point.
Wow. Yeah, it's like if you listen to your body, like it tells you things. Like mine's telling me, stop having so much coffee. Maybe have a glass of water every once in a while, Chrissy.
My body says that a lot too.
Like, can we have a liquid that isn't brown, please? No. Wow. Cool. So you want to have more? No pressure.
Yes. I would like 3. Well, so I said 3, and then my chiropractor had his whole little family at the office one day because his wife was getting a massage. That office is so cool. They have chiropractor, personal training, physical therapy, and medical massage all in the same building, and it's like all included.
Ooh.
And so his wife was getting a massage for her birthday, and so he had his whole little 4 kids in the rec room, and they were all playing. And then I got home and I said to my husband, so actually I think I want 4.
Aww.
And he's like, we're gonna have 2, and then we're gonna see what we can financially afford.
That makes sense.
Yeah, it does.
That makes sense. And then just buy some more lingerie and see what happens, No pressure. No, that's so great. I'm so happy for you. You're such a delight, Liberty Doll. I'm obsessed with you. We have to do this again. I have to get you on Simpcast.
Yeah.
I'm such a big fan. Where can people find you and follow you and etc.?
So your best bet is YouTube. You just search Liberty Doll. I should pop up. I'm also on Twitter when I remember that it exists, and Facebook almost never. You can also find my videos on BitChute and Odyssey and Library, and they will definitely be uploaded there because those websites automatically pull from YouTube. I have accounts all kinds of other places, but I forget that they exist, or baby decides that my work day for that day is up and I forget to post them the next day. So YouTube, you can search for Liberty Doll. I believe on Facebook and Twitter, it's The Liberty Doll, but I could be wrong. If you search for me, it should pop up.
Yeah. And it's not a Chinese company either.
No. I also have my website, thelibertydoll.com. There's some merch on there. Most of it has been banned, so I have to make some new designs because the world decided that boogaloo was a bad word, and so most of my logos got banned.
Why is that? I don't even know what it is.
Oh boy. The TLDR version is it's a meme about a coming civil war. You're like, oh, it's the boogaloo, it's the Civil War. But there was some big gun control that was going to happen in Virginia the beginning of 2020 before COVID hit. It was in January, and it hit the Second Amendment community by storm, and they had tons of people show up for their lobby day. And the lobby day is on Martin Luther King Day in Virginia every single year. But the legacy media decided that it was, oh no, this gun group purposely picked that day because they're white nationalists. And
oh my God.
Boogaloo memes about the Civil War was going to start because Virginia was going to take everyone's guns away. So then it got tied to white nationalism and blah, 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 even though it's a fucking meme.
Oh, that's so interesting. Okay.
Yeah.
Oh my God. It's like the more you learn about the media spin, it's just like
it's so stupid. Never talk to the media. They have tried to interview me so many times, and I never fall for it.
Yeah.
They still try to find a way to badmouth me, but I've never actually spoken to them.
That's what they do. All right, everybody follow Liberty Doll. Also, how did you get into your pinup style?
Well, rockabilly is where punks go to retire, basically. So I retired from punk rock,
Oh my
and
God,
I
it's
had to
cute.
be more professional, and I was like, this works.
Yeah, it's so cute. I'm such a fan. I
I
used to
even
dress that way for stage, and
yeah.
it's like you can spend so much. There's a store in New Orleans, if you're ever in New Orleans, called Dolls and Dames. It's
Mhm.
all rockabilly and pinup stuff. It's
I'll
like
have to check it
I
out because I do. Like,
always
I've got
leave
my
that.
circle skirt on right now.
Oh,
It doesn't
cute.
match with my shirt because I didn't think it'd be appropriate to have my nips hanging out. So
That's for the second
out of my
episode.
nursing shirt. So, but I do the
Aw,
circle skirts. I've got the 50s aprons. I love it.
aw, so cute. Yeah, because you're baking bread now. You're doing it.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on. Thank you to the chat for your comments and questions. We appreciate you guys. Until next time, bye.